I love seeing these little guys. Fawns usher in new life, renewed hope, and a whole lot of entertainment. If you're fortunate enough to be able to witness these bundles of energy through the lens of trail cameras, binoculars, or your bare eye, you're well aware of how much fun it is to watch fawns during those first few months. You almost forget the seriousness of their fight against the odds. Disease, abandonment, starvation, predation, and the all-too-testing winter months that ever so quickly become reality in such short order. For a few months out of the year, though, the trials of survival are overshadowed by the joy and excitement that only fawns can provide. You see, humans aren't the only creatures on Earth to be constantly pestered by their offspring. Fawn rearing can be an exhausting process. Everything from being saddled with milk and fawns that try to nurse constantly, to keeping their energy and curiosity from getting them in trouble, does must remain ever vigilant in order to keep their young safe. With a full schedule of things to accomplish in our orchards and food plots, I was out of bed at 5 a.m. only to find a heavy, steady rain falling. The forecast had called for none of it, and the 2 or 3 inches that fell until well after 12 noon had put a major dent in my plans for the weekend. We had water flowing in places I've never seen water before, which did make for some impressive action though at some of our waterfalls. In any event, every so often when I'd glance out the rain-pelted window to bemoan the landscape before me, I couldn't help but smile. This doe and her young took cover under the thick canopy to wait out the persistent rain, and every so often they'd climb up over the embankment to survey the situation, only to retreat back into the woods. Eventually, the steady rain finally let up enough, and out from cover they came, dripping wet and certainly hungry. I was surprised not to see the fawns out in the field running around playing in the rain. Much like kids, it seems like a fawn just cannot sit still when puddles begin to form. I'm not sure if this little one wanted to play while rain began falling, or if it was simply trying to convince Mom that it was time to seek thicker cover before it poured. Of course, for fawns, it all isn't fun and games. Eventually, the running around and pestering of seemingly every deer it comes in contact with subsides, and it's time to bed down. While I was busy working on one of our food plots, I received a message that a doe bedded her fawns in a field that abutted one of our apple orchards and disappeared into the forest. After nearly an hour, I finally made my way to the back corner of the orchard and spied the pair of fawns in the field. Both had their backs to the 8-foot-high deer exclusion fence, which protected not only our apple orchard, but the fawns themselves from any predators that might sneak up on them. The ultimate predator was ever so slowly closing the gap, though. Fortunately for the fawns, my only weapon was a video camera. On my stomach, I crawled through the soaked, muddy sponge that lay beneath me, cautiously advancing through the weeds and grasses. Lovely. I had no choice but to continue down into the tractor ruts if I were to make it to the corner of the orchard fence. Eventually I prevailed, and both fawns were still sunning themselves in the field, unaware of my presence. Sometimes life as a fawn is just so exhausting, you can't even hold your head up. After about 20 minutes of footage and photos, I retraced my wet, muddy crawl back into the woods. For the next few hours, the fawns enjoyed the day until Mom returned, and they eventually disappeared into the woods to see what new adventures await. A few days later, I was busy filming a segment on the importance of fruit tree fertilization when the bleat from a fawn caught my ear. Yes, the month of July is a surefire explosion of entertainment and energy in the deer woods. It's something I truly look forward to every year.